Hey guys, you're here with me, Brittlestar, and you're also here with Dr. Christine Korol. And you could say hi, Dr. Christine Korol.
Hi.
I was wondering, should I call you? Because you and I have done an episode of Fast Health before.
That's right.
Where we drove around in a BMW. And you terrified me because you told me stories of drop bears.
Drop bears?
Drop bears?
Right?
That's not a thing?
I don't know.
Just looking out, just in case.
You're checking for them? I think
well,
we're
there's
good.
some high trees beside us
They're
here.
very high trees.
Apart from lying about drop bears, what else do you do?
I've been helping a lot of people with anxiety lately, and especially around everything that's going on with COVID-19. There's a lot of reasons that people are feeling uneasy right now. So that's how I've been spending my time.
So it's kind of been a super weird time. Like we've been sort of in Canada here, we're about a month into lockdown, basically, where we can't go out and do all the stuff we're normally doing. And initially, I was describing it to myself as an extended version or a super intense version of the week between Christmas and New Year's. Then it's just never ending.
Never ending. But then you avoided the stores because everybody else was in there and it was too crowded.
Yes.
And, you just stayed away, and it's by choice. This is not by choice. It's very unwelcome and scary.
And everybody I've talked to is the same. Everyone's exhausted, but it's weird because we're not doing anything. So what's the deal with that?
We're actually doing a lot. We're putting a lot of pressure on ourselves to be productive. We think we should get all of these things done, but we're actually coping with massive change. We're grieving events that are canceled. We are trying to keep kids busy who are disappointed and want to see their friends. We're worried about our work. Some of us are learning entirely new workflows, trying to work from home, trying to figure out new technology that we're not familiar with. I work a lot with technology and do a lot of telehealth with patients, so I was ready to go when this started. But moving my practice to 100% telehealth, I was drained the first week. And I was surprised by that. So I was letting my colleagues know, I think it's hard on all of us. It's not just that the technology is hard, it's that, you're adjusting how you work every day.
So is it
so people think because I can connect, I can be just as productive, and it's actually absolutely draining.
Is it because it's a new skill? It's like new skill set, or it's because it's like a kind of a skill set we had, but now we're just exclusively doing that?
For teachers, what they're going through right now, because there's you could get a master's degree in educational technology and online curriculum development. And a lot of teachers are switching over to that quickly. So what I've been telling them, the ones I've been chatting with, is you're not doing online education right now. This is crisis education, and you're connecting with your students and you're giving them some sense of normalcy, but you didn't sign up for a distance learning.
Right.
That's a separate skill set.
Mm-hmm.
You teach differently, you interact differently. There's different strategies that you use. You just can't translate the classroom to online. And so there's a few things to think about. So give yourself some time. We're just going to get through this year. And, and the students are happy to see them too.
For sure.
Too.
There's a friend of ours who's a teacher, and he was saying that what he does is he'll start his Zoom classes with all the students, and he'll say, hey, listen guys, I got to go to the washroom, or I got to go get a coffee or whatever. And he just basically moves to the side of the screen and lets them chat and sort of socialize together, because they have an opportunity. There's people that I think with this whole lockdown thing, to me anyway, there's people you might, face chat with or FaceTime with or video chat with, but then there's also this whole other, community of people that you wouldn't necessarily FaceTime them or something. So it's kind of nice to still see them though, which is good.
It is. Yeah. It's important to have that connection. So, we are doing a lot, and it's mentally exhausting learning anything new. We actually burn a lot of calories when we're trying to learn something new and figure it out, or there's a stress that
has not been true for me though. I don't feel that's the same.
Well, there's the other thing too. The other reason why people are tired is we're off of our schedules and we're eating too much. We shop for a week or two, and then we have snacks for a month that get eaten in a week. and we're sleeping in, and our sleep schedules are off. We're staying up too late, and everybody's off of their schedules. We're dysregulated, basically,
Right.
and our bodies need that routine. And so when we change our eating habits suddenly, when we change our sleep habits, our work habits, we're not walking as much as we were before, because our
Right.
commutes are much shorter for those of us who are able to work from home. It's really taking a toll on our body. So we're really seeing a huge impact on our moods. You know, one of the main treatments for depression is something called behavioral activation. And we help people who are depressed increase their activity level. So just getting out of bed, going for a walk, really simple things, and they have a huge impact on mood. Well, we've done a big social experiment the other way, where everybody's lost those things, and they're seeing that it's having an impact on their mood, and we're feeling more lethargic and tired and having trouble falling asleep because we're not getting enough activity during the day.
In that same idea that when I think of it initially, I was like, this is like the week between Christmas and New Year's, where I kind of have nothing to do, and things are kind of not happening anyway. So there's no pressure, but they kind of are, but not really. And then I end up going, you know what would be great right now? Another beer. Let's have another beer. Or how about some wine? Yeah, we drank enough beer today. Let's drink wine now. So why am I drinking so much? Not me specifically. I drink a fair amount, but not that much. But you know what I mean?
Yeah. Some people are drinking because of anxiety and stress, and it's a way to unwind, or just feeling really kind of tired. Your brain is working so hard during the day with, all the changes that, I'm like, oh yeah, I could unwind with a glass of wine. And then the other reason is people are not commuting as much, so you can sleep in a little bit more. So you think, I could have a drink. So alcohol sales have really increased as a result of this. And I'm hearing it a lot from my patients that they have been increasing their alcohol intake. And there's some short-term effects for that. Aside from potential substance abuse issues that can start to develop, you definitely don't want to use alcohol to cope with anxiety and stress. The main reason is it doesn't work that well for reducing anxiety and stress. It might numb you temporarily, but there's much more effective tools that you can use, such as exercise and meditation, and even cognitive behavioral therapy. If you're worrying, that works better for anxiety than alcohol. But the other issue is it really affects our sleep quality. So when we have even one drink, our sleep quality is quite diminished. We don't get enough, we don't get as much REM sleep where we dream, and we don't get as much deep sleep. So the alcohol might help you fall asleep, but it won't keep you asleep because you get up to go to the washroom throughout the night. But it also affects sleep quality. You get quantity over quality. So people can wake up feeling quite tired and depleted. And then I read another reason this morning not to drink. The WHO is now recommending not drinking because alcohol seems to lead to more complications with COVID-19.
Right.
So
Right.
you need another reason not to. It can also affect your blood pressure. And then when we're talking about eating too many snacks, it also can impact your weight as well. So when we're in it for the long haul with our activity reduced, and it's hard enough to regulate our sleep when we are in our pajamas all day, which, by the way, you should get dressed. It helps with your sleep to actually get dressed. When it comes to drinking, make sure that you're not using that as your main coping technique. A glass of wine with dinner is lovely, but if you're using that every night, more than 10 drinks a week for most people starts to lead to some of these health effects. And a drink is much smaller than we think.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a 9-ounce pour of wine. That's over 2 drinks.
Wow.
So you want to make sure that you are watching how much you're drinking. If you are going to drink, make sure it's several hours before you go to bed, so it's less likely to affect your sleep quality.
It sort of seems like it's that notion that we don't have any boundaries, or the day, not boundaries. We don't have any definition to the day. So, or the definition is a bit kind of blurry currently, but I think, as you were saying, that'll probably change as we move through this. We'll start to have to be forced into these definitions, which might help.
Yeah, we have to create them ourselves, so I'll tell people to make sure you get up at the same time every day, including weekends. no sleeping in. That's really important right now. Doing the same for your kids, making sure they get up too,
Right.
so that teenagers are having a hard time right now.
One of the things that drives me nuts are people who think, okay, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to pay attention to the social distancing rules. I'm just going to play fast and loose, and I'm not going to get sick. And even if I did get sick, I'm healthy. It's not going to affect me.
Right.
And they have sort of the blinders on and don't really grasp this idea that, it's not just them, it's everybody. And it's not just COVID-19. It's all of the healthcare requirements in your community would be at risk if they don't play along. So how do I deal with this anger, this burning anger I have towards these people who'd say that the rules don't apply to them?
Yeah, that's something I'm hearing a lot of right now, and everybody's having a different reaction to the situation. Some people are coping too much. They're over preparing, and some people are under preparing, and they're denying the threat. And it's hard to stay for people who aren't worriers. It's hard for them to stay worried about something when nothing immediately bad is happening. You start to get comfortable with it. And a lot depends on the communication from public health and how they explain why we need to do what we do. But ultimately, we have to rely on public health being in charge of this, and we can't be the COVID police. We can't tell people, because it's not that effective to
Right.
try and get mad at people. So, when psychologists look at how people are coping, and some people are listening and some people aren't, there's a whole science of non-compliance when it comes to anything. And so that's just human behavior. Some people are going to listen to everything that the public health officer has to say, and other people are going to ignore it. And so it's up to public health. That's really their job, to look at the balance between being heavy-handed and implementing laws and fines, and relying on people to use their good judgment. And so they walk a fine line. They're very conscious about, how hard they come down, depending on what's happening in your local community. So if somebody's not listening, leave them to public health. It's going to drive you crazy to try and police them. And public health is watching. They're looking at, what they need to do and how hard they need to come down on people. So if they know people aren't. Here in BC last week, they were saying 26% they estimate are not complying with social distancing right now. And so they're adjusting the messages they're giving us based on that.
It's important for you to not think of yourself as like the compliance police, as you said, and also to just sort of like, I'd imagine, just protect your family and do what you need to do.
Yeah. You follow the instructions. And it can also go the other side too. Sometimes people will be mad at you because they think you're not taking it seriously enough. And so then you have to let them know, no, I'm listening to public health, and I don't want to talk about COVID-19 all day long. I'd like to, talk about gardening or other things that we can do right now. But, trust me that I'm taking it seriously. So what you want to do whenever there's conflict in your family is to, briefly explain, yes, I hear you, and I hear your concerns, and I'm concerned about it too. And, I think we're going to have to agree to disagree on this one. So be firm, and set some boundaries. If someone's coming after you, know that it's probably anxiety driven. They're worried and trying to protect you. So it might be a bit much to be on the receiving end of that, but do your best to be patient. Patience is always the antidote to anger.
Right. That's what my wife tells me all the time, is that her antidote to living with me is being patient.
Very good. She's a wise woman.
I'm a lucky man. That's what she keeps telling me.
Yeah. I think she's right.
You're not supposed to agree with that. You're supposed to say, well, I don't know.
It goes the other way too.
That's true. That's right.
Yeah. It has to be
Honey,
two-way.
are you listening? For our situation, I'm at home with my wife and my youngest son, and my older son has been self-isolating for about a month and a bit now, and literally not going outside. So he's actually coming back to be in the house with us,
Oh, good.
which is great. But So we haven't gotten totally sick of each other yet. However, I can see it's coming at some point. But I always do sort of pause every now and then, thinking how hard it would be to be on your own, to be self-isolating alone. And even if that's, within in a house or an apartment or whatever, and you just can't necessarily be with your roommates or housemates, whatever, or you can't be with your family. But those people who are living, on their own in general, and then are now stuck on their own, how do people cope with it? That must give you a lot of anxiety as well.
It's very hard. And, we're meant to live together, and I think, how we're living, in our own apartments, isolated from each other, is not the healthiest for human beings. We're supposed to live in groups, in communities, and so this emphasizes it even more. Not only are we isolated in our apartments, but we don't see anybody, unless we go to the grocery store, and we can't touch each other. And there is a need for touch. So everything that we can do right now to cope, like if you're alone, you have to sort of use your second best options right now to stay well and healthy. So, Zoom's not perfect. Zoom can be kind of tiring to be in frame all day, or Microsoft Teams, or whatever technology you're using to have a video connection. And you feel like you're on all the time as well. So sometimes the phone is a little bit easier, but whether it's the phone or a video call, that's an important thing to do to stay connected with other people. Not as good as sort of like being able to hang out at someone's house and watch a movie together, but it's your second best thing. And certainly people are getting very creative about just having Zoom on while they do other activities, like watch a movie together, turning Netflix on at the same time, or cooking together, or eating together, or having, a virtual happy hour with each other.
Right.
With just like one drink.
You're such a killjoy.
Sorry. Yeah, you got to stay healthy right now.
So like things like those like Netflix watch parties that you can do, like I know there's a thing you can get where you can both log into your Netflix account and like a Chrome extension, and then you can see a video screen with each other watching it. That's a good thing to do.
That's a good thing to do, because we need to kind of have like those like off things that we do simultaneously together with each other, and it does feel like you have some company. Oh, the other thing that people are doing, it's like apparently hard to get pets right now. The shelters are getting cleared out. So, animals help actually quite a bit. It's like having someone else there. Then you get some of that need for touch in as well. And if you're not willing to commit to a full-time animal, you can foster at least for a while. That helps the shelter workers so they don't have to come in as often, if there's any shelters that you can find that still have some pets available. So it's been really great for animals right now.
Now, what kind of tips do you have? Because my wife and my youngest son, Gregor, they've been campaigning for us to get 2 kittens when the shelter opens up again in a couple of weeks here, or at least available to do virtual, like online adoptions.
Yeah.
What tips do you have for making them get up and feed the cats?
Oh God, I don't know. I'm the one who does most of it. My husband are the ones who
So you'll do it for me?
No.
Oh.
The other thing too, if you're living alone, to give yourself some, again, this is a second choice, but to give yourself some sensory stimulation. So whether that's, like massaging your temples, or giving yourself a scalp massage or shoulder massage, or you can take a tennis ball and put it behind your back and go against the wall and work out tension. Yoga can also be really good right now.
Right.
And just feeling your body against the floor. But, our bodies need some stimulation. Our bodies also know when we're touching ourselves versus when somebody else. Oh, I shouldn't have touched my face.
Well,
you're not supposed to touch your face. But
I think you're kind of allowed to on your own, aren't you? Are you allowed to touch your face? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
But no, don't get dirty on me. Stay clean.
Yes.
But you're saying the tennis ball, all that kind of stuff. Like we have a back massager. It's just for backs. That kind of thing's good as well.
Yeah.
Anything
like
that.
It just gives your body some sensation and works out some of the kinks. So that's a good thing to do.
Right. I'm not going to say, we'll keep it clean, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
What are some of the tips to sort of, keep your kids from getting stressed out themselves,
Yeah.
from getting on your nerves, that type of thing? What are some ideas to help with that?
Tire them out.
That's what my wife does to me.
Yeah. See, wise woman. You chose well. No, you have to tire them out. You have to make sure that kids are on their schedules, and that's including teenagers, not letting them sleep in. My poor children are harangued out of bed, like it or not, even on weekends. I might let them sleep in a little bit more, but usually I try and, they're teenagers, so, if I get them
Right.
out of bed by 9 or 9:30, I'm happy with that right
Sure.
now. Now they're having some online school, so that helps. At least they're supposed to log in and check with the teachers. So they have to be up at certain times. That helps a little bit. But making sure that they are on a schedule, and that kind of puts me on a schedule too. And then I have lights out at a particular time too. So I'll shut everything down so that they don't get the message that it's okay to stay up till 2 or 3 in the morning. Although, I learned one of the kids was up at 2 a.m. watching Japanese anime as soon as it was released in Japan. So we're working on that.
Little steps.
Little baby steps. Yeah. And then making sure they're getting enough exercise. And so doing that with them can be a good family activity. If you're in your community, you're allowed to go out for family walks together and get some fresh air. That can be good, or going for a bike ride. The more you can get outside, or if you can garden together outside, that's a good physical activity that will tire them out as well. And then making sure they're not eating too many snacks, and that they're still eating vegetables and fruits. So putting healthy choices, making that available for them, that's important. But the other thing is to lower your standards as well. So a lot of people feel it's important, like they have to have a perfectly quiet in the background while they're on their Zoom call. Well, it's chaos. We're all working from home. People are going to have to get over it if your kid bursts in. Right. I saw someone tweeted that their kid just walked in to a Zoom meeting, their 2-year-old, and said, "Mommy, change my butt." In the middle of her call. Oh my God, that's great. That's lovely.
I think that's it, right? This is like a shared experience that we're all having that is just like, it's totally unprecedented certainly for the, it's just, it's unprecedented because of who we are, where we are in history, and the technology we have and all that kind of stuff. So cutting yourself some slack seems like a good idea in general.
Yeah. Oh, totally. And I've been talking with a lot of teachers who've been worried about their kids sort of barging in. And I have a 17-year-old, my older daughter, she's 17 right now. And I said, would it bother you if a teacher's baby was on camera while she was teaching? She goes, no, that'd be better. I love it.
Exactly.
She loves babies. Yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you about as well, though, we've done our top 5 lockdown anxiety tips, but there's a couple more things that I've thought of as we're going through here and just chatting about it and thinking about it. So a lot of people I've seen on Twitter have said, how many times a day do you think you have COVID-19? How many times a day do you think you're getting sick, basically? You go through all the symptoms. You go, I got a bit of a throat thing. What do you do? How do you calm that fear of getting sick?
Mm-hmm. It's kind of giving all of us temporary hypochondriasis, which the old term, we now call it health anxiety. And so, for my patients who had health anxiety before, they're really struggling right now. And one of the things that really causes health anxiety is an increased awareness of your body. And we're inundated with these messages and looking for the top symptoms. So it puts it sort of top of mind. And then, you add to it, it's allergy season, and there's other colds and flus going on around right now. So we'll feel these little tickles. We'll feel in our throat. We'll feel itchy eyes, and other things will come up, and we'll start to worry. We'll start to hyper-focus on our bodies. So one of the things that we do for people who are worried too much about their health is get them to refocus their attention on something else. Brains aren't that smart. They can only do so many things at a time. So you can take advantage of the fact that brains aren't great multitaskers and refocus your attention on something that will give you a little bit of a vacation from hyper-focusing on your symptoms and looking for trouble. So, and things that are kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, like more spatial activities. So like doing even like Lego or building puzzles. They use different areas of the brain that can actually make it a little easier to refocus, and you kind of lose yourself. Or if you play an instrument, people who are musicians are really lucky right now. That's a great refocusing activity.
That like tactile thing really helps.
Yeah. Or things that you have to do kind of under pressure of time, like Tetris, for example. Like it's a puzzle game, so it uses a different area of your brain under pressure of time. So yeah, I don't think video games are the worst thing right now to sort of take, as long as it doesn't, everything in moderation, make sure you're getting activity. But it's not a bad thing right now to take a break from the news and all this information that's inundating us now with worry about our health and our physical symptoms. And also we're feeling kind of lousy too. Even if you don't have any symptoms of cold and flu, a lot of us, we talked about earlier, are feeling lethargic and putting on weight and not getting exercise and not sleeping well. So then that creates more of a focus on our bodies and our health and can make us start to worry that we're not doing very well. So making sure that you take care of your body right now and put good food in it, make sure you're drinking enough water, making sure that you're moving it enough is really important right now. And then finally, if you can't stop worrying about getting COVID-19, look at the actual danger for it. Absolutely it can go wrong, but for most of us, if we get it, some say when we get it, we're just slowing it down, we're not stopping it. That is going to be mild for most of us.
People get concerned, and rightfully concerned, about revenue and money and income and that type of thing. I mean, I think that, being self-employed ourselves, like myself, I think, I'm very fortunate this is happening when it's happening for me fiscally.
Yeah.
But I can certainly think back to not so, far back times where I think back and go, oh man, if it would have happened then, well, I don't know what I would have done. So how do you deal with this fear of, surviving without an income, and like, because it's just very stressful. I mean, I've been there. It's very stressful.
When that happens to people that I'm working with, the first order of business is coming up with a plan and getting creative about what can they do, who can help them, where can they turn to help. At least in this situation, we're all in it together. Most times, when there's a recession, people are kind of on their own when they get laid off. And I know I grew up in Alberta, so it was always boom or bust in Alberta. And working there as a psychologist for a time. Now I'm in Vancouver. Certainly I helped people through the 2008 recession when I was living there. I was impressed by all the side hustles they came up with, which often became their main thing after. They decided, I don't want to go back to that job. So if you have a side hustle, or you can find a creative way to make some money, that can be helpful. Some people sell things. Some people move in with other people to share expenses, and that turns out to actually be a good thing for some people. And for others, it's a temporary thing while they're going through the rough spot. And hopefully, because the government is rolling out supports sort of on the fly right now, we're seeing new announcements every day here in Canada about filling the gaps. Usually governments have some time to plan things, programs to help people, and then they have time to think about, all the people who, well, not always, but people who fall through the cracks. So one of the main things you can do now is call your local politicians, because that's resulting in a lot of the changes we're seeing in the day-to-day announcements, where they're helping people who are falling through the cracks and fixing policy problems. It's hard to anticipate all the things that go sideways when you create policy, or all the people you're missing. So you need to kind of roll things out and then hear back from folks.
Right.
and then you adjust. So what we can all do is, if there's a problem, let your local politicians know. They will absolutely bring that information back, and just be annoying right now. They're working, so give them something to do. And so it's hard, but realize that people do get through job loss. We do get through recessions. It's not easy. There's few things as anxiety provoking as worrying about money. And so it's figuring out how to make do, and then realizing this is not forever. Right. That often it feels like, oh, I'm never going to get my job back. If you're finding that you're going down a dark, deep hole and predicting, 10 years in the future where you're going to be because of this, it might be good to reach out. And if you're worried about money, it might be hard to find a free mental health support, but there's certainly lines and things that you can call, and places that you can look for information.
Right.
Yeah.
There's one of my favorite quotes, and he wasn't a great guy all around, but his quote was good, was Winston Churchill's, "If you're going through hell, keep going."
Yes.
That idea of like, yes, this is terrible, but let's just as long as we keep moving, we'll be okay.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine what it was like to live through World War I?
No.
Then the pandemic.
I'm too soft.
And then the depression.
I'm too soft.
I know. Then World War II.
Yeah.
I think that's why everyone, like all my older relatives who talk about how lovely the 50s were, I'm like, I think their bar was so low.
Oh yeah. Exactly.
Like,
I started panicking last night because I took a little bit of Doritos and the bag's almost empty. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to go to the store and get more Doritos now.
Horrible.
That's how soft I am. I have one more question to ask you, though, one more tip. What do you do if your spouse is driving you insane?
Well, that's a big question. So it depends on whether they were driving you insane before or after.
Depends on who you ask.
Lockdown. Yeah. So if it was before, if there were problems in a marriage or partnership, then they're going to be amplified right now. And in some cases to dangerous levels. We're certainly seeing increases in domestic violence. And a lot of colleagues of mine who work in that area have been very concerned. They kind of saw this coming, and it's happening. So, certainly if you're in an unsafe situation, it's important to reach out and call some of the agencies that are there to help you, and they can tell you what's going on in your community and how they'll be able to help. They're still operating and very concerned about you and your safety. So they're ready to help. If it's more that you're arguing or you were on the brink of divorce before this happened, you might want to focus more on how you can coexist peacefully during this time, or even the relationship therapists are working online now. Online therapy works as well as face-to-face therapy, and therapy is cheaper than a divorce. So now's a good time to reach out. And I know a lot of my colleagues who do couples therapy are working overtime right now to help people. So it's pretty easy to get an appointment because it's easier for them to just find a time for you. They're not going into their offices. They're doing things remotely. So it's important to reach out and get help. It's very hard to get your relationship on track without a good therapist who knows what they're doing with couples work. So that can be helpful. But for most of us, really what a couples therapist will do, and what we should all be doing in our relationships, is listening first rather than trying to focus on what we need from the person. Listen first to what they need without being defensive. That's the hard one. So for most of us, if you can say, there's one trick, actually this works with teenagers really well, but sometimes with angry spouses. So they're mad at you for something and you say, okay, and what else have I done? And how else have I let you down? And what else could I do better? And what else would you like me to change? And you just keep letting them go,
Right.
and then repeating it back to them. So, you feel like, I leave it all on you. And the temptation is that, well, I do as much as you. I want to, you don't see all the work that I do, and to get defensive about it. But when we jump into it, that escalates things. It never really works. And telling your spouse to calm down is not a good idea either.
Fine. My wife was right. I say that all the time. I say it I like saying the word calm down.
Yeah.
And I realize that I'm flying too close to the sun.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's very dangerous. No, so you have to do your best to stay calm yourself and go, okay, she's having a moment, he's having a moment. I'm just going to be calm and I'm going to listen to them. And sometimes it's fear driven. Sometimes it's, anger driven. Sometimes it's a long-standing rift between the two of you. But if you can find that place in yourself where you can stay calm and be there for them while they're dumping it on you, not abuse, where I'm not talking about abuse, taking abuse, but, hear the complaint. And then when you're articulating back what they said to them, try and see past what they're saying to what they need. So, I can see you're mad that I'm not taking the garbage out. I feel like you need more help around here. It feels like you're shouldering the burden and you're planning everything. And so not just sort of parroting back what they said, but like try and go to what the need is. You need me to listen to you more. You need me to help more. You need me to say you're doing a good job, so try and guess, and then they'll correct you if you're wrong. You don't need to worry about that. And the nice thing about this is that you only really need one person in the relationship to be doing this, to de-escalate. Right. And we use it a lot in hospitals to de-escalate angry patients. It's like, what do you need? Like, why are you so mad? What can we do to help? So think of being more of service to your partner and problem solving. And, okay, so what can we do going forward? I know I disappointed you then, so what can we do going forward so that doesn't happen again? But then you also have to be good at articulating your own needs. So I want to help you, but I need you to stop yelling at me. I'm getting my heart rate's going up. I'm feeling anxious and nervous. I need to feel connected to you, and I want to problem solve. It's really hard working on this together. So, I need that from you. And so you have to have pretty good self-knowledge too. So you can see, where this is sometimes hard to do on your own. And it's okay if you blow up at each other. I think, happy couples, there's John Gottman. He's a relationship there. You read John Gottman's book on quarantine. He's written many of them on how to keep your marriage on track. And he's a researcher at the University of Washington. And he talks a lot about how, there's these the number of times, the number of negative interactions. And there's a ratio that's, I think it's like 1 in 7. One negative interaction for a positive interaction for happy couples. And I think it's like 1 in 3 or 4 for unhappy couples. Right. So it's not that happy couples don't blow up at each other, but so it happens less frequently, but they also go back and repair. So if you lose it on your partner and you feel like you said something really bad that you can't take back, try and take it back, try and fix it. Try and work on how you're not going to do it again. If you do a good apology, then you can repair some of that as well.
So this has been so much incredibly valuable, and I appreciate you chatting about it. It's fantastic. I think that, one of the things I was tweeting the other day was that if you're feeling you need assistance or help or some professional help or healthcare help, whether it be like for, physical injuries or conditions or whatever, or if it's mental health issues. The one thing that sort of really struck me is that we had to contact our doctor's office this past week. And there was like a real notion of me going, I don't know if we should, because we don't have COVID-19. And it's like, no, those systems. And we called, and it was a receptionist. She took all the information. She had a nurse call back who assessed over the phone and then sent the prescription to the pharmacy. And it was all like they had a system set up. And I think one of the things I wanted to make sure that people knew was that there's obviously like the healthcare people beyond what's happening with COVID-19 are all still operating. They're all still doing their
They
thing.
are.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's some clinics that are closed, but most are operating via telehealth.
Mhm.
But even my family doctor said, no, you can come in. Like, there's nobody in the waiting room and everything's clean. And, if it's something that I need to see you for, don't hesitate. It's actually quite quiet because everybody's staying away.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm hearing from some of my colleagues who work in emergency departments as well, that, actually, in some respects, it's quite quiet.
Right.
And I think it partly because people are being more careful. Nobody
Sure.
wants to do something that's going to put them in the emergency room. So that's good. But mental health issues in particular, there's a lot that we can do via telehealth, and hospitals and community centers and places where there's mental health clinicians working in the public domain are set up to do online therapy. I do a lot of training of therapists to teach them how to go online. People are surprised to learn that there's over 30 years of research on online therapy. In the old days, what we used to do for video link was, I've been doing it 20 years, not 30. I'm not quite that old yet. Oh, actually, I am. But anyway, we used to connect with people via video link in the hospital, and patients would have to go to a clinic in their community.
Right.
So if they were, say, like I'm in Vancouver and they're in Prince George, they would go to a Prince George clinic because we didn't have easy access video links. Now we do. So most hospitals are set up and most doctors' offices are set up to do telehealth right now. And for psychotherapy, it works just as well as face-to-face therapy. And actually even telephone therapy, if you're not comfortable with video, telephone therapy has been shown to work as well for most things as face-to-face. I even do email therapy with
Amazing.
people.
Amazing.
Yeah, and it works as well. Honestly, it's really good. We write emails back and forth to each other, and there's some research to show that people actually do better with that kind of therapy, because I think it's because they're doing more work on their own, and then they trust when therapy's over that they can keep doing that. So
Right.
there's a lot of effective help out there. Lots of research on telehealth. It's not even a second choice. It's quite convenient for people.
Mhm.
And so don't hesitate to check and see if your health teams are there and waiting for you. Some of them are quite quiet right now. They're not on, they may be, physician, but not on the front lines of COVID-19.
Thank you so much for chatting today. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
It was amazing.
It was fun.
How's the weather out there in BC right now?
Oh, it's beautiful. The daffodils are up, and the cherry blossoms are over now. They're all the petals are on the ground, and there's a few magnolia trees left. But
How do you deal with the seething anger you get when you have to listen to people from BC talking about how great the weather is?
that's why I moved here.
Trees,
I'm
yeah.
concerned. It would do some damage.
Yeah, there are bears out here.
We'd have to pay the deductible on this car. I don't
Oh,
wanna do
right.
that.
No, I think you must have the drop bear coverage.
It's probably
The
automatic.
insurance. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.